Hello and welcome to Lantern Lane Stories. Tonight's story is Cher Ami, the Brave Messenger. In the spring of 1918, a young pigeon arrived in France. Her name was Cher Ami, which means dear friend in French. She had lived her whole life in England, where the skies were gray and the air tasted of salt and seaweed. But now she was here in a new country where the wind smelled different of earth and strange flowers. The soldiers who received her looked tired and far from home, just like she felt her heart beat fast with both fear and excitement. She had traveled so far. Everything was new. Cher Ami was a messenger pigeon. Soldiers in faraway places needed to send quick messages to their commanders. Back then, the radio and telephone didn't always work, especially when soldiers were deep in forests or far from camps. But pigeons were like magic. A pigeon always found her way home no matter how far she traveled or how strange the land was. So soldiers would tie a tiny metal tube to her leg, slip a rolled up paper inside with an important message, and let her fly. The moment her wings caught the wind, she knew exactly where to go. The American 77th Division needed a new messenger pigeon. They were soldiers far from home, fighting in a place called the Argonne Forest. Cher Ami was brought to their camp and shown to her new roost, a small wooden box with soft straw inside where she would eat and sleep. An older pigeon named Glasshouse lived there too, gray and calm. She nodded at him shyly. He cooed softly, a warm, welcoming sound. "Welcome," he seemed to say with his ruffled feathers. "You will be brave here. We need you to be brave." Over the next few months, Cher Ami flew message after message. 10 times, then 11 times, she left her roost with her little tube full of hope and flew through wind and rain and bright sun. 10 times, then 11 times, she came home safe, landing on the wooden edge of her box with a soft flutter of wings. The soldiers started to know her name. They watched her small dark shape disappear into the sky and held their breath. "Always, always," she returned. She had never failed them. Not once, not ever. The soldiers began to believe that Cher Ami could do anything. Then October came. The trees of the Argonne Forest turned from soft green to gold, and the gold to gray, and the gray to brown. The weather grew cold, so cold that soldiers' breath made clouds in the air. Soldiers huddled in deep ditches dug into the earth, trenches they called them, where the ground was always cold and damp. Their uniforms were stained with mud. Their faces were thin from hunger, but something was very wrong, something worse than cold or hunger. They had moved forward to help other soldiers, but now they realized a terrible thing. The other soldiers weren't where they thought they were. Everything had changed. They were lost. The radio crackled and died. The telephone line was cut by bullets or bombs. No one knew anymore. Messages couldn't get through. Commands couldn't come back. The soldiers realized something that made their hearts cold. They were cut off from their commanders, alone in the dark forest, with no way to call for help. 2 days passed, then 3, 4. The soldiers had very little food. Water was scarce and tasted like rust and stone. They were hurt, and their friends were hurt too. Some of the men weren't moving anymore. A major named Charles Whittlesey looked at his soldiers and saw fear in their eyes. Real fear. "How will anyone know where we are?" a young soldier named Cohen asked, his voice small and lost. "How will anyone know to come and help us? How will we ever get home?" No one had an answer. The older soldiers didn't speak. They just stared at the dark forest. But then an older soldier remembered something. His eyes got a little brighter. "Wait," he said. "Wait, we still have them. We still have the pigeons. Cher Ami, and maybe one more." Hope flickered like a candle in the darkness. They brought the first pigeon to the entrance of the trench. A soldier opened his hands gently, and she flew up into the gray sky. Everyone in the trench watched. They didn't breathe. The pigeon got smaller and smaller, a tiny dot against the clouds. Then she was gone. They waited through the long afternoon. She never came back. A German gunner had seen her rise and shot her down. "She was shot down," someone whispered. Defeated, they brought a second pigeon. The same terrible thing happened. 2 pigeons gone, 2 chances lost. The soldiers' hearts sank so low, they almost couldn't bear it. Here, A young soldier named Cohen said quietly. He brought the last pigeon from the roost. It was Cher Ami. She looked small in his shaking hands, so small and fragile. The message was written on thin paper by Major Whittlesey's hand. Stop your own guns from firing at us. We are here. We are not the enemy. Send help immediately. The paper was rolled up carefully and placed in the tiny metal tube attached to Cher Ami's leg. It was so light, just one tiny tube. It held the hopes of 194 soldiers who wanted to live. Everyone in the trench stared at her. She was their last hope, their only hope, their final chance. Fly, Cher Ami, Cohen whispered, his eyes full of tears. Fly home? Please fly home. He opened his hands slowly. For a moment, nothing happened. The pigeon stood still, feeling the cold October air and sensing something was very, very wrong. The air smelled like smoke and fear and pain, but then her instinct took over. It was what she was born to do. Her wings beat down, 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 once, twice, 3 times. Her talons left Cohen's palm. She rose into the gray October sky, rising higher and higher, carrying the message from 194 trapped soldiers in her tiny tube. She was so small, the sky was so big. The moment she cleared the trench, pain shot through her body like lightning. Flying things whistled past her head, bullets from German guns that wanted to bring her down. Something struck her left wing hard. She felt it like a shock that ran through her whole body. Her left eye went dark suddenly. She could only see from one side now, like the world had turned half invisible. Pain burned in her chest, sharp and hot. For 1 second, she almost fell toward the ground. Her wing folded wrong, but then she remembered the roost home, the cooing of the other pigeons, the warmth of the wooden box where she slept in the straw, the gentle hands that fed her seeds in fresh water. Home was waiting. Home was calling to her across the distance. She would not stop. She could not stop. For 25 miles, Cher Ami flew. Through wind that tried to push her down and sideways. Through air that cut like invisible knives. Her body screamed with pain, but her heart sang only one song, home, home, home. She could feel it like a pull from deep inside her chest, like an invisible thread attached to her heart, drawing her forward. She flew past broken trees that had been split by bombs. She flew through gray sky and clouds that blocked the sun. She flew over rivers and roads where soldiers walked. Her wing hurt. Her eye was useless. Her chest burned. But she kept going. A pigeon never forgets her roost. A pigeon never loses her way home, no matter what happened. Then she saw it, a familiar shape in the distance. Soldiers in gray uniforms, but these were different soldiers. These were her soldiers, the ones who had trained her and fed her and held her gently in their hands. The roost was close now, so close she could almost smell it. Her wings beat faster and faster, driven by the last strength in her tired body. She could see the wooden box. She could see the mesh of the cage. She could see the bell that would ring when she landed. She descended through the air, her one good eye fixed on home. Down, down, down. She landed with a thump on the edge of the roost, her talons gripping the wood with all the strength she had left. She had made it. She was home. She had made it home. The soldier at the roost saw the pigeon collapse onto the wooden edge, barely able to stand. Blood stained her feathers, but she was there. She was home. His hands shook as he gently removed the tiny metal tube from her leg. He opened it carefully. The message inside was smudged and worn from the journey. But the words were clear enough. Stop your own guns. We are here. Send help. He read it once, his eyes filled with tears. He read it twice. His voice shook as he shouted for the officer. A message came through. The message had arrived. The pigeon had made it. Against all odds, Cher Ami had made it home. The commander received the message, and his face changed from despair to determination. He immediately, urgently ordered the guns to stop firing. Within hours, help was coming through the forest. Soldiers rushed forward to rescue the lost battalion. 194 soldiers were saved that day. They would see their families again. They would go home to their mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. They would have a chance to live, and it was all because of a small, brave pigeon who refused to give up. When word spread about what Cher Ami had done, the army doctors came to care for her carefully. She was hurt very badly. Her wing, her eye, her chest, but they treated her wounds gently, with respect, like she was one of their own. The soldiers brought her the best food they had, their own rations when needed. The country of France was so grateful for what she had done that they gave her the highest military honor a pigeon could receive, the Croix de Guerre, the War Cross. It was an award usually given only to soldiers who risked their lives in battle. But Cher Ami was a soldier too, they said. She had risked her life, she had fought in her own way. The medal was hung with pride around the roost where everyone could see it, shining in the light. Soldiers saluted her when they walked past. Children from nearby villages were brought to the roost to see her and hear her story. A pigeon saved lives, they were told. One brave pigeon saved 194 people. Cher Ami rested in a quiet roost away from the sounds of war. The other pigeons cooed around her softly, day and night. She grew stronger slowly with each passing week. She lived for one more year after the war ended, and in that year, she was famous. Children all over the world heard her story. In America, in France, in England, people talked about the pigeon who flew through pain, the bird who never gave up, who saved 194 lives with one brave flight. And when she grew old and tired, she passed away peacefully, knowing in her small pigeon way that she had done something wonderful, something that mattered. But Cher Ami's story didn't end when she passed away. Her body was taken to a special place called the Smithsonian, a great museum in Washington, a city far across the ocean in America where 194 soldiers went home. Today, if you go there, you can still see her. She stands in a glass case with all her medals carefully displayed around her, and something very special sits beside her, a metal leg. After the war, when Cher Ami had trouble walking because her right leg was so badly wounded, the doctors made her a metal prosthetic leg so she could walk more easily. Now children who visit the museum learn about her courage. They see the tiny tube where the message was placed, they touch the glass and whisper, "Thank you, Cher Ami. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for saving those soldiers." And they know something true. One small creature with a brave heart can change everything. One pigeon can save the world. And so the old town also slowly fell asleep. Good night.